I always be your captain. For our failures we have grown.
All right, guys, what's going on? Today we're going to talk about the hero workout, Murph. We're going to talk about how we can kind of take a stepped process and walk towards getting that coveted sub 40-minute time RX with the weight vest. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about today, guys, is the 6 different levels that we want to be thinking about achieving before we move up to that next level. And so I'm going to put those over here on the side so that you guys can kind of read through them as I'm looking at this. But this is a step process, so we should always be trying this first without a weight vest on and really be shooting for a sub 50-minute time. And if we can do that, then we can start to walk down and we can shoot for a sub 45-minute time. And then we should start to get close to that 40-minute mark before we start thinking about doing it with a weight vest. Now, the reason that we want to do that is if we cannot get below a 45-minute time without a weight vest, that weight vest is really going to hinder us from training and getting some good training value out of this workout. We're not going to be going fast anymore. It's going to be very sluggish. We're not going to be running. We're going to be walking a lot, and we're probably going to be getting to the point where we're taking really big chunks of breaks in between, and really you're not training to get better at the workout at that point. So we want to keep this pretty quick pace, right? Even at what I would consider to be a fast pace on this workout without a weight vest, number one, you're getting a great workout, and number two, you're still going to have a tough time getting below that 45-minute mark. So follow the step process here. Once you get below that 42 to 40-minute mark without the weight vest, then I would recommend that you guys move up to the weight vest and start chipping away on the same stepped process, but now with a weight vest. So that's a good kind of rule of thumb if we think about this workout generally, where we should be scaling and how we should be scaling. Next, we're going to talk about how we want to break down the individual rounds based on our capability level. And this is going to be true whether we're wearing a weight vest or not, whether we're doing this prescribed or scaled. And the rep range, the rounds, and how we want to break those up is going to be much more based on how good we are at pull-ups and how good we are at push-ups, and how we need to change those things to get to the right round scheme for us to maximize the work capacity of this workout. And again, remember, the goal of this workout is work capacity. So the first scheme that we're going to talk about here, guys, is the 2-4-6 scheme. Now, this is a 50 rounds of 2-4-6. We're going to show some pull-up and push-up combinations here in a second, how I recommend doing this. But the 2-4-6 scheme is really good for people who struggle with high repetition pull-ups. They maybe aren't very good at kipping yet. And so with 2 pull-ups, it's really not going to matter how good your kipping or your kipping rhythm is. So long as you can get that chin over bar, you can change up your grips and you can usually just get that chin over bar. 4 then on the push-ups, if you guys are going to be breaking the sets of 10 for the other rounds that we're going to talk about into like 4-3-3, you might find that this strategy helps you move a little bit more consistently by just breaking the push-ups into chunks of 4. Usually those are going to be the 2 areas where people fail, either the pull-ups or the push-ups. Not too many people fail on the air squats, so I'm not going to talk a lot about how to break up the air squats outside of just keeping your rounds equal and even. And then we're going to talk a lot about strategy. We're going to talk a lot about strategy as we start talking about the air squats, because that's a big strategy piece on the air squats and a huge time saver. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The second scheme that we want to talk about is the very popular 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15. Now, I only recommend this if you can do all 5 pull-ups unbroken with confidence the entire way. And again, these can be kipping, these can be butterfly. The difference between the time on those isn't gonna matter, and they can also be strict, obviously. You guys can change up your grip, and I recommend doing that to change the fatigue on the shoulders a little bit. But you need to know that you can do 20 rounds of 5 pull-ups unbroken without having to get a ton of chalk and without having to take big breaks before you get onto the pull-up bar. That's the only way that I would recommend doing the 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15. Now, the 10 push-ups, this is actually going to be something, if you do choose to do this, that I want you to break at least 6 and 4, if not 4-3-3, right? And you guys, if you can do the pull-ups, you need to be able to break the push-ups up, because the push-ups are going to be your only time for rest, for chalk, and to move your poker chips or to take a little tally off the dry erase board. We're going to talk about that when we get inside of how to maximize the individual rounds. But that's what we want to think about. So if you guys can break those push-ups up 6 and 4 and do all the pull-ups unbroken, you're going to find the best success with the 5, 10, and 15 for 20 rounds. That's why that's a very popular scheme. And then the last way we're going to talk about, and we're not really going to spend a lot of time on it, is the chipper style. Chipper style, if you can go sub 45 on it, is like world class, right? Doing it 100, 200, 300 is really just about grinding through mostly the push-ups. Struggling through 200 push-ups in a row unbroken is just a little bit different of a workout. So that's why we're not going to talk about it too much, but I definitely recommend starting with smaller sets, not doing huge sets out of the gate if you guys do choose the chipper style. All right, so first we're gonna talk about the 2, 4, 6. So 50 rounds of doing 2, 4, and 6. Now the key here, guys, is that we're only gonna wanna take an actual stop and break about every 5 rounds. So what I would do is grab 10 sets of poker chips, and then every 5 rounds you would move 1 poker chip over, and that would be your break time, okay? So we're gonna watch Mitchell go through the pace here. So he's just gonna go up and slap together 2 pretty quick pull-ups. So he does butterfly, that's good, okay? He drops right to the ground, he's gonna knock 4 out, and he's basically gonna try on his 4th one to burpee his feet up into an air squat position and go right into 1, 2, 3, so on, right? He would then immediately turn and go back because we haven't gotten to the 5-round break period yet. He does his 2, he does his 4, he does his 6. Now at 5, he's gonna bend down, he's gonna move a poker chip over, he's gonna grab some chalk his hands up a little bit, and he's gonna do that also. One of the big things about this station that we like to set up is when he's standing up from the push-ups, if he needs chalk, so go ahead, stand here. And as he goes down for an air squat, he can grab the chalk and come back up. And then as he goes down into his last one, he sets it right back into its spot, and then he's good, right? So that's how we wanna kind of set our station up from a chalk perspective so that we can chalk our hands during the air squat portion of that, okay? So that's a big time saver for these 2 things, is chalking up while we're doing air squats and only moving poker chips over once every 5 rounds for the 2, 4, 6 model. All right, guys, now we're gonna talk about the 5, 10, and 15. Now, big thing here, remember I said you have to be able to do the 5 pull-ups unbroken. It will not be a beneficial way to do this workout if you guys are gonna break the pull-ups up, okay? So know that you're gonna do the 5. So when we start this round, every round is gonna have a little bit of a break period, and we're gonna show you where those come, okay? So Mitchell's gonna pop up here, he's gonna do his 5 pull-ups. And again, these have to be unbroken. You can kip them, do them strict, do them any way you want. Finishes his 5, and he's immediately gonna go to the ground and knock out 6 push-ups. Nice and fast. 3, 4, 5, 6, go to his knees and take a break. Now, this is his break period time, okay? So he's gonna stop here. If he needs to move a poker chip, he's gonna do it. If he needs to grab some chalk, he's gonna do it. He's then gonna knock out his last 4 push-ups. And when he gets to that last 10th one, he's gonna burpee his feet up, and he's gonna go through his air squats. Somewhere around 5 or 6, he can grab that chalk again if he needs it, if it's really sweaty, and he can chalk his hands up, and then he can drop that chalk down. And then from here, the important part is once he finishes his 15th, so your last 15th, he's gonna immediately go to the pull-up bar. There's no break in between rounds. The break period time is during the push-ups, okay? So we always break that either 6 and 4, 7 and 3, 5 and 5, doesn't matter. But that's our break period for the workout. We don't break anywhere else. There's no break between rounds. Don't move poker chips over after the air squats. Do it during that push-up break because you're gonna need it. All right, so those are the big time hacks for that. Thanks, Coach Mitchell. All right, so last piece here we're gonna talk about, guys, is the run. Now, not a lot to talk about here in terms of, form and structure. Your training before Murph is gonna really predispose you quite a bit. But the biggest thing, guys, is that first 800 meters, the first half of that mile, cannot be going out too hot. You can ruin the entire workout by going out and running like a 3:15 first 800 meters. The way that I recommend it is think about what you would run a mile in, and then add about 20% to that, right? So if I'm running a 6-minute mile, I would add about maybe 2 minutes roughly to that, right? So that's about 33%. So maybe about a minute and a half, right? So between 7:30 and 8 minutes, and that's about where I want the pace for that first 800 meters to be, right? And that's what the mile that I'm going to run with that weight vest on, okay? So if that's where I'm at, I would like to make that turn around maybe 4 minutes. Then on that way home for the second 800, I can speed up if I feel good, right? And I can maybe run it in about 3:45. So I finish at about 7:45. Then I would come in and I would start into my rounds and reps. Whatever I chose, I'm gonna stuck with, okay? As we start to go through that then and we get out the door then for that first 800 meters during the second run, the most important thing, guys, is you have to get up to pace fast. I almost like to treat that first 200 meters of that as a sprint, because if we don't get in the habit of taking that out with a stride and as actual running, we're going to get out way too slow, and we're really going to struggle as we start to go through that. So I hope that helps as you guys start going through this. A lot of that pacing at the end is really going to be predisposed by your stamina and cardiovascular endurance. Hope you guys have fun. Murph's a great workout. Let's enjoy our 4th of July or Memorial Day, whatever day you guys are going to be doing this workout on. And I hope that you guys, good luck and PR and have some fun and high five some friends and, just make sure you're very thankful for the opportunity just to be able to do the workout here in America. Thanks, guys.
On June 28, 2005, Michael would give his life for these ideals. While conducting surveillance on a mountain ridge in Afghanistan, he and 3 fellow SEALs were surrounded by a much larger enemy force. Their only escape was down the side of a mountain, and the SEALs launched a valiant counterattack while cascading from cliff to cliff. But as the enemy closed in, Michael recognized that the survival of his men depended on calling back to the base for reinforcements. With complete disregard for his own life, he moved into a clearing where his phone would get reception. He made the call, and Michael then fell under heavy fire. Yet his grace and upbringing never deserted him. Though severely wounded, he said thank you before hanging up and returned to the fight before losing his life. Unfortunately, the helicopter carrying the reinforcements never reached the scene. It crashed after being struck by a rocket-propelled grenade. And in the end, more Americans died in Afghanistan on June 28, 2005 than on any other day since the beginning of Operation Enduring Freedom. This day of tragedy also has the sad distinction of being the deadliest for Navy Special Warfare Forces since World War II. One of Michael's fellow SEALs did make it off the mountain ridge. He was one of Michael's closest friends. Petty Officer Marcus Luttrell of Texas, author of a riveting book called Lone Survivor, put it this way: Mikey was the best officer I ever knew, an iron-souled warrior of colossal and almost unbelievable courage in the face of the enemy. For his courage, we award Lieutenant Michael Murphy the First Medal of Honor for combat in Afghanistan.